we'll go live now.
It's not live yet. Hello, welcome to Data and Digital Week. We're just getting started. We're just waiting for one more speaker. I'm Heather Leeson. I'm Digital Innovation Lead within Solferino Academy. It's late in the day in Europe and maybe even later in the day in Asia or Africa, and probably just around lunchtime for those of you in the Eastern Standard Time. So welcome. There's only a few of you joining. We know that for the next 3 or 4 minutes, there's going to be people rolling off of other sessions. So we just want to give you a time to do that. Maybe over to Lieselot. You have some questions for people while we're waiting.
No, well, hi, thank you everyone, and thanks Heather for kicking off this session. So while we're waiting for other people to come in from other interesting sessions here at Data and Digital Week, we can already start chatting with you in the chat. So if you can open the chat, please let us know the national society that you are dialing in from, so that we know that who we are connecting with in this virtual place here. Thank you.
Thanks, Lieselot. Yes, we're very happy to have people from around the world joining us today. We've had a lot of exciting sessions. There's over 2,500 people registered and about 150 sessions happening in many of the official languages and onward. So with that, I'm very excited to have a guest here from Microsoft joining us, Apurva. It's very early in the morning for him, as well as one of our colleagues who was formerly with the Burundi Red Cross joining us as well, who will share some reflections afterwards. So just in terms of format, this will be a 45-minute session, but we will have time at the end as well to just ask questions internally within the IFRC. We'll start off with Apurva Chandra, who will be able to kind of kick us off and ask the question, give us a little bit of insights into the work. Hello, good morning, Apurva. I hope you had your coffee.
I did. Thank you.
Wonderful. And you've had a lot of calls yet this morning?
I sure have, but it's all great work.
Wonderful. Okay, so this session is really called Finding the Training Tools You Need to Get Ahead with Microsoft. And so we're very excited to have all of you that are joining. I see that there's still a couple more people joining. We'll give it 1 more minute and then we'll do some introductions and get things started. Just 1 more minute. So if you
Thank you, Heather. And in the meantime, I've dropped a message in the chat, but I'm not sure if everyone is able to have access to the chat. But if you do have access to the chat, please do let us know the national society that you're dialing in from, so that we have an idea who we are connecting with today. Thank you.
Wonderful. It is our first time using Microsoft Live Teams as this team. So you know what, why not have a Data and Digital Week where we try new things and test out tools to build our digital muscles, if you will. So it is 3 minutes after the hour, so I kind of want to be respectful. So today we have our special guest, Apurva Chandra, who's the nonprofit lead for Microsoft Philanthropies, Tech for Social Impact. And Apurva has been collaborating with us quite a bit. He helped review our digital transformation strategy, and we're very happy to have him here to do a presentation about some of the work and to answer some of your questions. We also have Alessandro Federi. He is our private sector partner manager from IFRC, and Bertrand Rakundo, who is a delegate of ESSN, which is a project in Turkey of IFRC. He's a cash information manager, and Bertrand's going to share a little bit more details around the Burundi Red Cross's experience with a project that Apurva worked with us on later. So we'll have a little bit about Microsoft and then a lot about you. And it looks like you can't add which national society you're in the chat, but we're going to find a way to communicate, and we might have to add another doc or something like that. So with that, Apurva, do you have slides for us?
Yes, I sure do. So first of all, thank you so much for having me, inviting me to this wonderful event. We certainly appreciate the partnership and everything that you all do, and we're just hopeful that we can provide you with some additional training content today to help you further those missions. So let me, hopefully this will be presenting in a moment here.
It's always nice to put our colleague whose tool it is on the spot to show us.
I know, right? I know. Let me try one more time here.
Super.
Okay, let me try one more different thing. And okay, hopefully this works. And can folks see my screen? You can confirm that. Awesome.
Absolutely. Wonderful.
Good. So I can do a brief introduction before we dive into the slides. So again, Heather mentioned that my name is Apurva Chandra. I'm the nonprofit training lead for Microsoft Philanthropies. And so what that means is it's my job to develop training content to help nonprofits like yours, help nonprofits like yours better use Microsoft technology and platforms. So hopefully you all are aware of all of the products and discounts and donations that Microsoft makes available to nonprofits. And we've been committed to the nonprofit space for many years, decades even. And so I think there's generally pretty good awareness of what our products are, what our cloud services are. I don't think that there's quite as much awareness about all of the training content that we have available. And that's my job today to walk you through some of that. So what I'll do quickly is that I will go through what I view as 3 different vectors of looking at training. One of them is training hubs, and that's places you can go to access training. Then we have training platforms, and these are platforms you can use to put training resources on top of and customize it for your own use. And then I've consolidated a set of training resources where I try to bring the best of everything that we have into a consolidated format that might be a little bit more digestible. And before I continue, Heather, could you give me a time check? How much time do I have today?
You can have about 14 hours, but and the reality is that we wanted to have some time for Q&A. So okay, I would say about 15, 20 minutes. We'd really run it, hear some questions over.
Okay, fantastic. So training, when we talk about training, it can mean a million different things, right? Like we can be talking about bite-sized training that you can take on your own. It can be training with a live instructor. It can be a 10-week course. It can be a bite-sized video. Oh, and it looks like my training, it looks like I stopped sharing. Let me try that again. Okay, hopefully you can see my screen again. So anyway, training can mean so many different things to so many different people, and we do our best to we do our best to cover all of the needs that we see for different types of people inside of nonprofits at different types of skill levels and different types of attention spans, frankly. So let me dive in to our different training hubs. Now, the first thing that I wanted to talk about, again, and hopefully some of you are aware of these pieces of content, but I'm sure many of you aren't. There's a large nonprofit partner called TechSoup that we do a lot of work in a lot of different areas, but a big part of our partnership is focused on training and capacity building. And so to that end, about 2 years ago, we developed a bunch of training courses with TechSoup. And this was all designed to be bite-sized training content focused specifically on Microsoft products. So you can think of this as intro to Excel, Word, PowerPoint, Teams, OneDrive, SharePoint. And we have, after the COVID-19 outbreak, we worked with TechSoup to create a special training course designed to help nonprofits move their operations online. So you'll see some of that training content here as well. We have a lot of Spanish content. We just launched our Portuguese content, and we have French and Arabic content coming soon-ish in the next handful of months. So we're very excited about this. I mean, all of this content is geared very specifically towards nonprofits. All of the use cases, personas, all of the exercises you do are focused on nonprofits specifically. So we consider this a companion piece for all of the donation discount products that Microsoft have. We encourage everyone to go through these courses. Vast majority of them are free. I think something like 90% of the courses are free. Some of the more advanced courses carry a small fee. So hopefully you all are aware of this. If not by now, hopefully you are. So the next one, while TechSoup was more introductory training content, I would say introductory to intermediate. We have a platform called Microsoft Learn, which is a little bit geared towards more advanced certifications. So you can think of like whether you're an IT professional or someone just looking to get an advanced technical degree, technical certification on something like Azure or Dynamics or being a Microsoft 365 admin. All of our latest and greatest training content is hosted on Microsoft Learn, and this is all completely free, self-paced, thousands and thousands of training modules, and we're updating it on a weekly basis. So definitely encourage you to go to Microsoft Learn if you're looking for something a little bit more technical. The next thing that I wanted to mention was Microsoft Stores training. And so what this is, you know, we used to have a physical Microsoft Stores present. So depending on where you are in the world, there were Microsoft Stores located where you could go in, talk to Microsoft Stores associates about your products. You could buy products. With the pandemic, though, we've decided to make the decision to close all of those stores, but all of those employees are now available to help online. And so we have custom training sessions where you can fill out a form and have a live training session with a Microsoft Stores associate. You can also join one of the pre-scheduled sessions on, again, using things like Excel and Teams and Word and PowerPoint and more advanced things like Power BI, Power Apps as well. So you can either join in on a live session or create a custom one on your own. I think it's a fantastic resource. Hopefully those of you, hopefully some of you have taken advantage of this or are aware of it. But if not, you know, we'll make sure that you have these slides so you have the link where you can click on it. The next thing I wanted to mention is, you know, Microsoft acquired LinkedIn a handful of years ago, 5-6 years ago, something like that. And as part of that, LinkedIn Learning is now a part of the Microsoft set of solutions. It does carry a subscription license. So that's one thing to be aware of, but the library of content, there's something like 16,000 courses, and it covers technical, non-technical content. Tons of great content here, but also we've recently made a subset of these courses available for free, and those are geared very specifically towards job seekers. So if you or anyone that you know of are looking for jobs, there's a set of training content available through LinkedIn Learning that's free and is geared very specifically to people looking for jobs. And I have that link included right here, opportunity.linkedin.com. The next few slides may or may not be relevant, so I'll go through them pretty quickly. If you do have a premier contract with Microsoft, and this is kind of an advanced level of support, so if your organization pays for that, then you have access to some slightly more technical training content. So on-demand videos, hands-on labs, as you can see here. Again, if your organization has it, you're eligible to get this training content, but if not, you know, you can ignore this. The other thing, another thing, whereas your organization may or may not be eligible for this, I'm guessing many of yours are not, but you know, as Azure is Microsoft's cloud computing solution, and we are just adding more and more functionality to it every day, and it's really hard to keep up. But some organizations are eligible for training geared specifically towards Azure. So you get a live instructor to come in and provide training to your staff. You'd also get some vouchers to take some advanced certifications. So wanted to make sure you all were aware of that as well. And this is another Azure training resource called Pluralsight. Big partner of ours. We have a lot of Azure training here. This is all video-based, self-paced, really rich training content from experts. So if you're looking to learn more about Azure and you want it to be video-based on demand, I'd say Pluralsight is a great place to go. So that was kind of, I know we went by really quick there. I'm trying to stay on schedule, but those are all of the individual hubs that I can direct people to based on the type of content they're looking for based on where they're at in their career and the type of learning journey that they want to be on. The next few slides are talking about organizations that want to curate a very specific training experience for their employees. And so let me just dive into it. The first one is called Microsoft Community Training. I spend a lot of time on this platform. A lot of nonprofits that I work with are interested in creating a skilling platform where they can deliver training to a wide group of people and have that training be optimized for mobile devices in low connectivity areas and really be able to scale to reach, whether it's employees, volunteers, or program beneficiaries, so youth or job seekers. And it's been optimized for emerging markets. So it was created by our development team in India, and a lot of the customers who are using this platform are based in Africa or South America or in India. So you can think of this as a white labeled solution that's built on top of Azure. So if you're looking to reach people with specific types of training content, you can put your logo on here, customize the look and feel of it. So it doesn't say Microsoft anywhere, right? It just has your logo up there. And you can choose from some of the training content that we have available, or you can add in your own training content. And you'll be able to track it. We have all types of metrics that you can go through, and you can look at all of this information here for more context. But we've seen that it's a really powerful way to reach people with training that you can't reach in person. And all you need is a phone number to be able to log in. And we feel like that's really made it very accessible to a broad group of people.
Hi, Apurva. This is Heather speaking.
Hi.
We have the same affliction. I speak really fast. I'm wondering if you could speak just a little bit slower.
Sure. Yeah, well, I'm almost done. So
thank you.
No problem. So this was Microsoft Community Training. Pretty powerful, customizable platform. And happy to answer questions about that when I'm done in a couple of minutes. And I will try to talk a little bit slower. The next thing that I wanted to mention was for those people who are looking to get the latest and greatest of Office 365 and Microsoft 365, we have something called Microsoft 365 Learning Pathways. And so what this is that whenever training gets published by Microsoft anywhere in the company, it gets automatically put into your SharePoint site. So if you use SharePoint today, which I hope many of you do, again, you can have it set up such that training comes directly into your site, and you can customize that as well. So you can add your own training content, you can move the training around, you can decide which training you want to include, which trainings you want to exclude. But this is quite simple to set up. And again, happy to answer any questions that you may have about it. And then the last platform is something that doesn't actually exist yet, but will be available in a couple of months. And so you all are using Teams right now, which I'm very excited about. You're using the Microsoft Live events right now. So inside of Teams moving forward, you're going to see a new learning experience built into Teams, which I'm very, very, very excited about. Because what this is going to do is it's going to bring learning into the flow of work. So instead of doing your work over here and then getting reminded that you have to take training somewhere over here, we're going to be able to put in learning recommendations into the flow of work. And you'll be able to share trainings, and organizations will be able to have a little bit more influence on which training content bubbles up to the surface. So very excited about this. Should be available in the August timeframe. So I've included a link here. So if you want to learn more, if you want to get notified and be sure that you have the latest information, you can go to the link on the screen here. So the last thing that I wanted to talk about was If you go to any of these websites, you will see a consolidated set of training. So everything that I just talked about for the last 15 minutes, I've broken that down into beginner, intermediate, advanced levels. And I've broken that down by our product areas. So Microsoft 365, as well as Azure, and then business applications. So I've tried to set it up in such a way that it's easy to understand. There is quite a lot of content to digest, so I fully understand that. And I've gone through quite a bit in the last 15 minutes, so completely understood. If you didn't catch everything, I think I am done. So I will get out of sharing and we can open it up to questions if that's okay.
Wonderful. And perfect. Just thank you so much. I know it was very fast, and I think there's so much of a gift that Microsoft gives. And certainly when we were running a Microsoft Excel program, we sent out the TechSoup items. And during COVID response, we sent out the TechSoup items to different audiences. But there's 33 people on this call, probably 30 with our staff. But each national society, we did hear back from one national society that had joined, that he was very happy to be here from the Norwegian Red Cross. I think those stories around what's available, thanks Liz-Lotte for sharing those links in the chat. Those stories of what's available are really core. And so before we open up for questions of Apurva, we have Bertrand Rakundo, who is a delegate of ESSN, which is a project in Turkey for Cash IM. But he previously was at the Burundi Red Cross, and we blogged about this, Apurva. But I think this story around how to partner with Microsoft and how to work on training and that whole digital upgrade that we all need. I'm just going to turn to Bertrand and see how he's doing. He is actually in an airport, believe it or not.
Oh, gosh.
Bertrand, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Hi, Apurva.
Hello.
Good to see everyone. And I apologize if you are interrupted by some public announcement. Please bear with me.
Wonderful.
And I will keep my mask on just for, yeah. So anyways, as you were saying, Heather, this at Burundi Red Cross, there was a living proof of what Apurva was just saying. From 2018, the management wanted to improve to bring in digital transformation in the national society, and that started by contacting TechSoup, which actually provided Microsoft all three Office 365. Can you still hear me, or should I wait?
For your help.
Apologies. So the Office 365 was acquired through TechSoup, actually free of charge, which was a great added value for the national society, because now they could use their Outlook, Office, and everything. They could share, collaborate on documents. And then from then, in last year, we started doing the Excel pilot. 22 people from Burundi Red Cross participated in the Excel pilot, which was a great success because close to 80% succeeded in that training, which was I think the most in all the national societies that participated in that course. And then that course had a ripple effect because the 22 people who were trained, they also went and trained other people in the national society, which was a really great added value of the training. And guess what? We didn't see this coming. COVID happened. So all these people who learned to use Excel, they already knew how to use Excel, but they learned how to build productive templates, how to use the tool to actually use it for day-to-day work. And then in the COVID response, those skills acquired during the Excel training were super helpful. I wouldn't be overselling it if I say some lives were saved thanks to the skills learned during that training. So we thank Microsoft for that, and it's really good to have all those trainings. Surprisingly, many national societies are not even aware those trainings are out there, available for them. So it's good to have these kind of sessions to promote and shine a light on the location of those trainings so that people can build their capacity and be more productive. Over to you, Heather.
Thanks, Bertrand. And we only got interrupted once by loudspeakers, and thank you so much for keeping safe. And have a safe flight back to Burundi. I'm very excited that you could share that story. And Apurva, there's nothing like hearing that kind of thing verbally, right?
I know. It was amazing. It was great. Yeah. It's great. Yeah, I've seen your name, Bertrand, but it's so great to hear you talk about that impact that way.
Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, so we do have some questions and comments in the chat. Maybe over to Ian. He's there.
Sure, I can pick this up, Heather. Yeah, I guess there's one question for you, Apurva, which is if you, well, maybe it's a question for you and a question for Bertrand, but it's sort of a question around if you had one thing you would do differently, what would it be? But looking back at sort of the range of learning tools that you've been talking about.
I'm curious to hear Bertrand's response, if that's okay. Bertrand, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. One thing I would do differently. That's at the beginning of the course, people were working individually. So it was a group learning. We had 22 people in one course, but then because people get busy with their day-to-day work, and then they started falling behind on the schedule and everything. And then we started organizing these group exercises late in the evening after work, where people get together in one big meeting room, and then they work individually, but they are together, and then they can ask questions to each other, support each other. That was really like a really breaking point for us, because now people actually managed to go into the course and actually go all the way and finish. So this is one lesson I learned from that taking the course is good. It can be an individual course, but taking the course as a community, as a group, is really helpful to actually bring in accountability from each other and try to go and finish the courses. Yeah. And also one other lesson I learned from it is that you really need management input, because if management is not interested in if you don't have the input from management, because Burundi Red Cross management was like, people need to do this, and then the general secretary was sending a message, whoever applied for this course, please go and do it and finish it. And you really need, and say if you need to put off some work to actually go and do the learning, please do it. So it's really good to get management support when you are running this kind of course. This is something I'll do differently. Yeah, over.
Got it. I guess just to add on that, I mean, something that I see, and that was such a great example, Bertrand, where having executive support for training is so important, because we're all so busy. We're working on hundreds and thousands of different things, and I think it's easy for us to say that training is important. I think everyone on this call today would agree that training is very important, but we all have our jobs, and other things come up, other things take up our time. And so it's easy to deprioritize training. So you can make it your 5th, 6th, 10th priority, and then you just never get to them. But having leadership say, it's okay if you don't do some of these other things and you prioritize training, we've seen that just makes such a huge impact. And I think we've seen that with Bertrand's example. Something else that I want to mention that we're working on is just kind of acknowledging that the way that people experience and go through training is changed, just because so many of us don't have the attention spans that maybe we once did, right? Like in this age of internet, social media, so many different distractions, it's getting even harder to set aside an hour or 2 hours or a day for training, right? So we're trying to make a lot of shorter videos highlighting training. So even if you just have 2 minutes per day, maybe you can watch a video and learn one thing new about how to use Excel, one thing new about how to use Teams. So we're starting to do a little bit more like that now. I think we could have started that maybe like a year ago, 2 years ago, but I feel like over the last, especially during the time of COVID, our attention spans are shrinking. And so I think that our training needs to change to accommodate that as well. And
I think
Yeah.
Ian's on mute.
Yeah.
I think this idea of you know, just-in-time training or cohorted learning, or you know, my dream is like a little bit of an SMS, like daily tips. Maybe we'll use Twilio or something like that. But I mean, just the idea of being able to get your daily tips. I'm very excited about Viva. That sounds exciting too. Over to Ian.
Sure, I think they're still waiting for other questions to come in. There are a few questions about being able to share the presentation. So I guess that's one thing. Apurva, if you're okay with that, we can save
no,
this
absolutely. And I think I shared that with Heather and a few others on Friday. And so, yeah, please feel free to share that to everybody.
Wonderful. We'll put it on the Solferino site, but we'll also share it in the MS Teams for the Data and Digital Working Group. Some of you might be there, but we'll do our best to make sure that that link gets published so that you can find it, okay? And thanks again.
Yeah.
So we also have a comment from a colleague, Laurent, who's saying there's also the matter of having the possibility to put the training to action straight away. If it lingers, it's lost. This means having plans for what to do with newly acquired knowledge, something that's not always done. So I think Laurent is curious, if you have any feedback or thoughts about that.
I mean, it's such a great point. You know, I think it's like playing an instrument or learning a new language, right? Like, it's one thing just to learn it, but if you're not using it on a daily or weekly basis, like, it's pretty likely that that skill is going to atrophy. So, you know, we have a lot of communities, and I would encourage folks inside of the Red Cross and Red Crescent to develop these communities as well. And like Bertrand was mentioning too, where if you have a cohort or a group of people going through a course, it's certainly a best practice to keep that information sharing going. And when you're going through a learning course, have it in the back of your mind about how am I actually going to, like, what's one thing I can do in my day-to-day job? Like, how can, you know, I know we went through a pretty successful Excel pilot. What's one thing in my job that I can use this for? Like, whether that's creating a pivot table, like if you're learning about pivot table, like immediately like moving to figure out how can I use a pivot table to make my job easier, and then showing, like, teaching others about that as well. But it's just I guess I don't have any examples to share with you, but there's certainly the best practices of learning as a group, and sharing your learnings as a group, and then constantly when you're going through a course thinking through how this might help me in my day-to-day job. I know I certainly do that. Like when I go through training modules, it's pretty aspirational sometimes. Like I want to learn a lot more about Azure. I want to learn a lot more about Power Platform, like development, but I don't have anything in my day-to-day work that aligns with that. So it's awfully hard just to learn something and then feel good about, okay, I learned it, without actually having an application for it. So in that way, I think it's pretty similar to learning an instrument, learning a language. You just gotta use it, otherwise you lose it.
Yeah, there's some great points, and I think it really echoes to what Bertrand's example of the people that took the training in the first round and then multiplying that by sharing with colleagues. And Bertrand, I'm wondering too if you have any comments on this point.
No, I totally agree with what Apurva just said. I mean, you have to use it. And earlier, Apurva said when you want to learn something, it's difficult, it takes time, but you have to learn something you actually need, right? Before you start a course, it should be something you'll be using. And if you're going to spend 1 hour to learn something, but then that lesson learned will save you 20 or 100 hours over time. So it's really worth spending that 1 hour in learning. And those short lessons, I followed the Twitter of Excel. It's amazing. They have some really 10 seconds videos, 20 seconds, and it's amazing. You always learn like a new function, a new formula it's really useful. So I encourage everyone to follow and see what's happening. Yeah, over.
Great, thanks, Bertrand. So we're still, waiting to see if now we have the slides have been posted, so that's one update. So if you look in the Q&A, you can see that there.
Yeah, always there to charge for sure. Apurva, I had a question for you.
Sure.
So we have some people from ICRC and from Norcross and other national societies. I think there was somebody from Columbia. If you're organizing a program, okay, so we're obviously, Ian and I are part of the Data and Digital Steering Committee with Lieselot and a few others who are trying to build up the digital strategy for the organization. But if you're a national society and you want to build out a program, in your slides you have how to get started. Is there, I know you have Microsoft experts around the world. Is there another way for national societies to get help in their local languages? I think that that's one thing that, you know, we have 4 official languages at IFRC, but it's very hard to like set up a program like that if you don't speak the language over.
Yeah, I guess maybe just to follow up on that, or Heather, were you asking about like setting up, like support with like setting up the training, or actually finding specific training content?
Yeah, no, I think finding discovery is very easy, but you mentioned a thing about Microsoft Communities and the Azure thing. There's a couple of programs that I hadn't heard about before. I know Learn is coming, and what we know is that what Bertrand kind of demonstrated is that cohorted learning or local lenses to be able to kind of help each other is important. So there must be within your wider network, local networks within the Americas region or within Asia Pacific. Over.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. So there is, and you know, I can include this link as well. So there are things called champions programs, and what that is that it is a community-based learning, right? And I'll need to send you a link, Heather, and hope maybe you can share that with this broader group. But it's a way for people, like interested people, to communicate with Microsoft, and Microsoft has a pretty broad network of champions around the world who are interested in very specific areas. And we have a pretty wide like discussion forum for people interested in training, interested in learning more, asking questions, getting pretty quick response. So we have technical forums, community forums, where people can ask those questions. But that's a really good point. I feel like I should update. I'm going to take a note right now. I feel like we should update the deck to include some of those things about where people can go just to ask questions with experts and get answers right away, as opposed to going through training modules, just being able to like ask a question, get an answer, and be able to collaborate. That's a good point.
Actually, for another question around for the Red Cross or Crescent, we have this global network that has 192 national societies. I'm curious too, like what other kinds of networks you work with that really help amplify this learning in diverse countries. Like if we think about trying to do this in different regions, reaching different audiences, I mean, we have this really wide net. Do you have other thoughts around other kinds of networks that can help accelerate this kind of learning that national studies might be able to engage with?
Yeah, I mean, the way we work with nonprofits, and I mean, I don't have to tell you, but there are millions of nonprofits around the world, right? And most of them are super duper small, right? Like we have something like 80% of all nonprofits are under 10 people, right? And like something like 90% of them are under like 50 people. And so it's like, gosh, how do we, like, we believe that our technology can help with a lot of collaboration, communication, scaling, but how do we do all of that? And so, I mean, a big part of the way that we do that is working with you all, right? Like we know that your reach, how many societies are there, Heather? Like 200, something like that. It's a big number, right? But I mean, we have to work with organizations like yours. We have to work with organizations like NetHope, which I think IFRC is a member of. And I believe that we have some folks from NRC on the phone today. So we do a lot of work with the UN, UNICEF in particular, but all the different types of UN organizations, all of the NetHope members. We spend a lot of time in our effort with all of the NetHope members because we know they cast such a wide net and they have, you know, a big reach among the humanitarian aid organizations in the world and the funding that comes in. So yeah, I mean, at Microsoft, we obviously can't have direct relationships with every single nonprofit in the world, but there are a couple hundred organizations that we were able to have direct relationships with. And again, a lot of the NetHope members, IFRC, a lot of the UN organizations, and I'm sure there are others on the phone like NRC, like IRC, a lot of different foundations based in the US. So we try to get our training content out in front of as many people as we can, but we also depend on a lot of partners like TechSoup and TechSoup's partner network to get that training out there, get awareness of our discount programs and our donation offers. So hopefully that helps answer a little bit.
Sure. Now we do have another question coming in now from Andy, who's asking, maybe this is linked to the champions you have spoken about. Do any of the learning hubs you have shared support with train the trainer learning to cascade the knowledge within teams?
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Like that, we do have some marketing content, because I think what I've seen too is that if you're a learning officer or someone in IT, I think it's pretty easy to convince you that training is important. And it's pretty easy to convince you that, yeah, you should try to help deliver this training content to the employees in your organization. And I think a lot of times those are the people that I'm talking to. I think everybody on this call agrees that training is important. Everyone agrees that more people inside the organization should be taking training. But the challenge is, how do you convince everyone else in the organization that training is important? And we do have some training content that is designed to be given to the learning officer, and then they can kind of customize that based on their organization and send out an email to everyone else in the organization. So the short answer is yes. Let me see if I can find that link. Again, I'll send that over to Heather and you, Ian, and hopefully you can cascade that to everyone else afterwards. But that's a good point. Let me write that down.
Sure, I think we're happy to help with cascading. And in the meantime, I think we're seeing a couple of questions on the reference to NetHope, and I guess curiosity to understand more about NetHope. And the IFRC is a member, but not all of our IFRC members may be aware necessarily of what NetHope is and what it does, how it operates, and what Microsoft's role is.
Sure, yeah. So NetHope, and I might not be representing this completely correctly, but NetHope, I think, is a coalition or a consortium of 55 to 57 of the world's largest humanitarian aid organization, and a pretty significant percentage of the non-government funding goes through one of these, one of the NetHope members. There's a quicker way of describing that, but suffice to say that it's a consortium of the world's largest humanitarian aid organizations. And when disasters strike anywhere in the world, like responding to the COVID-19 crisis, these large humanitarian aid organizations are the ones who are called upon to provide support and provide relief. And so what we do as Microsoft, we've been a large presenting sponsor of NetHope for many years. And so we have direct relationships with the NetHope leadership team, as well as so many of the NetHope members. We provide technology grants, services, consulting services to help these organizations get ready to serve those needs, right? So whether it's helping them use artificial intelligence or machine learning, cognitive services like analytics to better predict things like when famines are going to occur, when droughts are going to occur, to use predictive modeling and help organizations prepare for getting resources ready because we believe they're going to be needed at a specific time of need, or helping, if networks go down, if there's a hurricane somewhere, we can work, get volunteers on the ground, or we can get the infrastructure back up and running through Azure, through Skype. So again, we feel like we have the technology, but it's really the NetHope members that have the people, the resources, the knowledge. And if we can give those organizations the technology and be a steward of that technology, and in limited cases provide grants and cash to help move that forward, That's really our role. And so NetHope has a summit, I think every October, and we tend to show up quite big there and try to show all the different solutions that we're building and all the different types of ways that we're trying to support the nonprofit sector. Excellent,
great. How, I'm curious, maybe looking a little bit more at NetHope too, curious how the private sector companies, like how does Microsoft work with the other companies? Is there in that coalition spirit and aspect to the company members collaborate?
What we're trying, I mean, we've been developing this thing called the nonprofit common data model, which is this way of storing customer data. You can think of it as like a standard database, if you will. And we're encouraged, and we've been encouraged to see that many other private organizations are building to the same common data model. And the whole idea behind that is such that today, if you have all of your information with one technology vendor, like all of your donor information, your fundraising information, all of your CRM, it's awfully hard to switch to someone else. If you just decide that you want to switch technology vendors, it's just really painful. And so you might just get locked into a solution that doesn't quite meet your needs. But what we've been building over the course of the last few years is a common data model to help nonprofits feel a little bit more confident about, okay, if we build to this standard, we might be on technology vendor A today, but we can move over to technology vendor B if and when we decide to, and it's not going to be that painful. Because we really believe that, look, we believe that we have some really compelling solutions for nonprofits, but we don't want to force nonprofits to choose one model versus the other. We're happy to compete at the application level, but on the infrastructure level, we think it should be just democratized and everyone can just build to one standard. And we've certainly been encouraged to see that other private companies have built on that standard. And then we're certainly encouraged to see that people are using our products. But we want nonprofits anywhere to be using technology to further their missions. If it's ours, great. If it's a competitor's, that's great as well. As long as the sector is moving forward, we're able to respond to all of the crises of our times when there are many crises to be solved. So there's no reason to say everybody needs to be using our technology. There's a lot of very compelling technology out there that organizations can choose from.
Great, thanks, Apurva. It's great to hear too about this collaboration around the common data model, and this is something too that we're looking at a lot right now within the IFRC as well. So it's fantastic to have that as a resource to potentially build on.
Yeah.
All right. I see a couple of questions around, maybe this is a question to you first, Apurva, but then also to Bertrand. But the question is sort of around what learning product have you enjoyed working on the most, I guess, for you, Apurva? And then Bertrand, we're going to ask the other way around of like which sort of learning tool or product has been the most useful and influential for you, Bertrand? So maybe start with Apurva and then we'll come back to you, Bertrand.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I'm also curious to hear Bertrand's response. I guess I'd say two things. One is I've certainly been very encouraged by the TechSoup training that we've developed. It's been a huge investment for Microsoft and for me personally. I've spent a lot of time kind of creating those courses, curating them, and trying to make sure that they meet the need. So I've been very happy to see how many, we have something like 40,000 people from the nonprofit community have gone through those courses, which I feel very good about. I'm excited to see that, only go up and up. The second thing I would say is we talked about the Microsoft Community Training Platform. And so to see organizations customize that and really make it their own and be able to use it in so many different ways, right? Like we've been able to see that UNICEF, for example, has used it to reach children in refugee camps in 20 different parts of the world. And be able to see like our partnership with national governments to deliver this customized training based on the national curriculum and geared very specifically towards children who are in low connectivity or no connectivity areas. That's been very good to see. I mean, it's not something that comes easy. It takes a lot of work do that. But it's been it's been very fulfilling to see that come to fruition. So with that, I'll hand things over to Bertrand.
Thank you. Personally, I mean, we did. My experience was with the Excel training, and before the training, I thought I was really good at Excel. But then, as always on Excel, you always learn something else. But yeah, it was a really good training. I recommend that for anyone who, even if you work with Excel on day-to-day basis, there will be something you would learn. And then also, I've done one training on Power BI data analysis, and it was amazing training. I really loved the training. I think my Power BI skills went from like 0 to I don't know. I don't want to give a number, but it was really like, significant. The added value with these online trainings is like for my Power BI training, it's like when you're learning music, you're learning how the different notes, the different tools, and everything, and then on Power BI, there is also an artistic part that you will learn not out of the, I mean, not in the tool, but like because you're learning about data viz techniques and the other things. But it was a really good training that gave me enough knowledge to actually know my way around the tool and start playing with it. But as we said earlier, the best learning way is practice. So whatever I learned with the tool, with the training, I kept practicing in my current program where I'm working right now. And yeah, so it's, you learn and practice. It's the only way. Yeah. So, but I think there are enough tools for anyone from beginner level to advanced. So I highly recommend, after they share the slide afterwards, I highly recommend to everyone to go there and then try to find your path, find what you need and what you want to learn, and then I'm sure there will be something for you. Yeah. Over.
Yeah. I really like that. Find your path. Now, I also really appreciate that you have to fit it into your day, right? And so how do you make learning a priority? And so I'm really glad that you mentioned, Bertrand, about senior leaders need to make it, but then you need to, as somebody, that learning has to be part of your day and however you can do it, whether it's via Twitter or via the courses. I think that for the digital transformation kind of steering committee and the people going forward for the secretariat and the different national societies here, they really are going to have to tailor things based on their audiences. And we might have to come up with some menus of training in some regard. And the good news is that our friends at 510, where Liesla works, when she's not seconded to come and work on a large event with us, that they're working specifically on trying to help us with that. So that's good news. So we'll be in touch about that, Apurva.
Great.
Back to Ian. I know that you have to go very soon, Apurva, so I'm going to be mindful of that. And we're almost done. Ian?
Sure, maybe one last question. It feels like, especially with Bertrand modeling such great behavior with the COVID-19 precautions in the airport, the question of like, what have we, over the last year, I mean, obviously there have been a lot of changes in how we all work and the key role of remote communications and remote interaction. But I'm curious, like, how has that affected the learning approach in Microsoft, and which kind of insights do you think will carry forward in the future, you know, even as we hopefully return to a much more normal state, you know, at some point in the near future? But yeah, what are the developments that we'll take with us, you think, from this period?
Yeah. Sorry, one second here. Okay, sorry, my headphones were giving me a problem. I guess a few learnings. One is that, gosh, like around this time last year, like all of our metrics for learning were like skyrocketing, right? You can imagine, like, I think it was like 5x, like the month of April of 2021, where it was just like the learner numbers that like were going through our courses. All of a sudden, it was just people were forced to work from home, and everyone was learning, like everything that they were doing on Teams, Excel, everyone was just going through the content. So it was, I mean, it was kind of an extension of trends we were already seeing. You know, people were working in the cloud more, people were working from home more, but it was just a sudden jolt. And then I think what we quickly saw is that there was just so much fatigue, right? Like a handful of months ago, or we just started seeing just a steady decline because people were just like, gosh, I don't want to spend any more time looking at a screen that I don't have to, right? Like training just felt like, okay, I need to do my job, but after that, I'm so tired. I don't I don't want to be looking at a screen anymore, like whether it's training or anything else. And I think all of the research that we've done has shown us that when we do get back in person, and I'm personally very anxious to do that, right? Like I'm very excited to see my coworkers again. But I think we also understand that we don't expect it to go back to the way it was before. Like in February 2020, we anticipate that there will be some element of virtual as well. So whenever we think about a training experience moving forward, wherever we think about a live training experience, we have to also think about a virtual experience, because for accessibility purposes, it's just so much easier for people to access training this way in a virtual environment. So I think gone are the days where we're going to have big conferences and big events that don't have an online component. And I think that'll be good for a lot of people who, because of their circumstances, just aren't able to attend. So I think we can count on a virtual experience to continue. And so I anticipate that those experiences are just going to get better and better and better. I think I also mentioned before that I anticipate seeing shorter and shorter training, like whether it's like, I think Bertrand mentioned he follows the Excel Twitter page, which is great. I'm going to follow that now too, just to get tips and tricks all the time. So yeah, I see more and more of that, where we're going to get better and better virtual training experiences. They'll probably get shorter and shorter, but hopefully we can continue, with the community-based aspect of being able to help and support each other, finding your own virtual communities of training and learning. So I anticipate just more and more of that to happen.
Great, thank you, Apurva.
Yeah.
And Bertrand, does this resonate with you? Maybe just a quick comment.
Yeah, totally. I think just technology will be an enabler, and it can only get better. That's what I can say. Yeah.
All right. Well, with that, I'm next going to hand over to Liz-Lat.
Yes, thank you. And yes, I also do hope with technology it can only get better. And I think all of the sessions and Data and Digital Week really prove that there's so much creativity all across the network when it comes down to technology, but also data and digital. So what I wanted to use the last 3 minutes for, not only to thank you, Apurva and Bertrand, but also to have a small advertisement of some other really hands-on workshops on what you can do with data and digital, organized by many of our colleagues across the network. So I'm going to share with you an overview of those sessions here in the chat. I'm already pasting some, but it looks a little bit messy, so I'll just start pasting them one by one and then hand over in the meantime to Heather to do the final close-up. Thanks.
Super. Thanks, Lies-a-Lot. And Lies-a-Lot has just been our right hand in terms of Data and Digital Week. We have over 2,500 people registered. There's still 4 more, and this was all grassroots, Apurva.
I know.
We thought, well, hey, we're just going to hold like 4 or 5 sessions. Maybe we'll just tell everybody else to hold sessions. And so that's what happened. And it's really exciting to watch the network mobilize. And it really is a digital transformation for all of us. And very exciting to watch people from different national societies join up. But yeah, definitely, I know that there's only a few of you left here, but just really go and enjoy those last 4 days, and do share with your colleagues what you learned from Apurva and Bertrand today. From a sponsor and a partner like Microsoft and Apurva, thank you so much for that overview. There's so much that they want to do to help us with our digital upgrade, but it also requires kind of the negotiation and the work like Bertrand has done and his other teams to really just show why the value's there, right? And we all have to do the digital upgrade together, and it happens with a little help from friends and a nice late night conversation for us and an early morning one for you, Apurva. Yeah. Did I miss anything, Ian or Lies-a-Lot or Bertrand? Nope. We got 1 minute. All right. So what we do at Solferino is, I know it's very old school, but we just like to wave. We just like to say thank you. So thanks, Apurva, again, and we hope that you have a good day. And any other closing thoughts, Apurva, from yourself?
No, just thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It was I always like speaking with you, Heather, and it was great speaking with you, Ian and Bertrand and Lisa. Thank you for helping us organize. So yeah, just a big load of thanks from us, and helping get the training out, and helping skill up all of the societies. So thank you.
Wonderful. Well, thanks everybody. Have a good night, and don't forget, there's another day. Actually, there's a bunch of sessions for the Americas happening tonight, but I'm going to go to sleep.
Okay.
Bye, everyone.
Take care, everyone. Bye.
Bye.